Turning the corner for the final month of 2021 on the Next Best Bet. This is episode 178. I'm Jake Higgins with Brett Levy, as always. And last episode, we both won our pick of the pod and Levy lock. I mean, Bucks -3 was my play. And then, Brett, where you and I differed was that Raiders-Cowboys game, and you won that battle.
Yeah, well, you know what, Higgins? I tried to tell you, I tried to warn you, I made it my lock, and you still went against me, so you deserve that L. And, look, anytime you can give out a winner in the pick of the pod, the Levy lock, the one we believe in the most, right? It's a good feeling, Higgins.
The only loss that you had last episode, Brett, was a loss that a lot of people shared with you on Saturday. Ohio State getting upset by Michigan. Ohio State was the favorite by just over a touchdown, and the Wolverines, they won outright. Good for Harbaugh.
Higgins, I gotta be honest with you, my dad, he always taught me, bet against your favorite team, so that way you're happy either way. Look at this, baby! Go blue! Go blue!
And we got another Harbaugh that's playing right now on Sunday night as you and I are recording. I have Ravens -4 in this game. We're about to head to halftime. It looks like 30 seconds left in the second quarter, and it's a 3-point game with the Ravens ahead. So it'll be interesting to see if I end up winning that bet as well or not, Brett. But shifting to the Beginner's Boulevard, let's talk about a term called the tissue price. Synonymous with what an opening line is, really, and it's the initial odds that are offered by a sportsbook. And there's a theory that technically these are the best odds that you can get at a sportsbook or when they first come out.
Yeah, I'd never heard this term before, Higgins, so this is a good beginner's boulevard for me, and, look, you're informing me of new things here, Higgins, so, yeah, now I know what the heck you were talking about when you were talking about tissue prices.
Yeah, it's not as common of a term. Maybe you'll hear it around a sports book or at a casino, maybe, but overall, it's not something that you'll be hearing, at least people our age, not typically talking about the tissue price, right, Brett?
No, I have not heard that before, so good term here, Higgins.
Absolutely. Let's jump into some NFL now. Talk about Monday Night Football. The Seattle Seahawks travel to Washington to face off against the football team. And I know that, Brett, you and I have talked about this before. Always be wary of that West Coast team that travels to the East Coast and plays in that time difference. But you know what? With it being a Monday night game, they get an extra day to maybe adjust. I'm going with the Seahawks. I'm going with Russell Wilson, who's back. I mean, we saw Seattle struggle when he was injured, but now that Russell Wilson's back, I think they're still going to try to salvage their season the best they can. And in order to do that, they need a win here. So Seahawks money line, it's basically even odds for either side, and I don't really agree with that. So I'm taking the road guys.
Yeah, Higgins, well, kind of funny. We were discussing this off air, so now we'll discuss it on the podcast. Yeah, in New Jersey, the odds are slightly flipped, Higgins, and Washington is the 1-point favorite. And look, I was kind of looking at the rundown. I'm thinking, Washington +1 at home. I don't know. Maybe I'd take that. Let me look here in New Jersey, see what they are. And it was flipped, Higgins. So I thought that was interesting. It kind of depends where you are, what the spread is on this game, it appears.
Makes sense that the guy on the West Coast would have a book where the West Coast team's the 1-point favorite, and the guy on the East Coast has a book with the East Coast team being the favorite, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely in Seahawks territory up there, Higgins.
The other side that I'd look at for this game is that over-under at 46.5. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring, Brett. I mean, we're looking at Sunday night, this primetime game. It's almost halftime again, and there's 9 points that have been scored in this game. I don't see Seattle, Washington being a very high-scoring match either. I really don't think it's going to be that exciting of a game. That's probably why it's going to be so close down the stretches. It might be low scoring. And whoever has the ball last and kicks a field goal might come out as the winner in this one. I think the Seahawks get it, though.
All right, there you go, Higgins. Let's jump forward to some basketball though, because we got some lines for that.
Yeah, real quick before we talk about the college basketball, though, Brett. College football, we had the last regular season games this past week, meaning this upcoming week we'll have our picks out for that on the next episode on Thursday. But I'm curious, are there any of these conference championship games, Brett, that are at least raising your eyebrow at the beginning of this week? Because, I mean, I look at Oregon Utah, a game that these two teams already played just 2 weeks ago, and Utah won that pretty handedly. Georgia Alabama has some big college football implications. I mean, if Alabama wins this, do Georgia and Alabama both still get in? If Georgia wins this, is Alabama officially out? And then you look at a Big Ten championship with Michigan and Iowa, and then a Big 12 with Baylor and Oklahoma State. There are some big names like Oklahoma and Ohio State that we're used to seeing play this week that aren't.
Yeah, definitely some fun games. Michigan, Iowa. Obviously, a lot of people will have their eye on that after. Wisconsin was upset by Minnesota to knock them out, and Ohio State upset by Michigan to knock them out. So, definitely, to your point, Higgins, some unexpected matchups here. Pittsburgh Wake though in the ACC, everyone had that in the preseason, so no surprises.
Yeah, that's the other game. I mean, that's the one that ends out the night. Michigan and Iowa and Pitt and Wake. Those are the last two games of the night, and I'm sure Michigan's going to be paying some very close attention to that Georgia Alabama game and that Houston Cincinnati game as well. I'm really curious how this Saturday is going to go. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some things get shaken up.
Yeah, Houston Cincinnati, huge game. I'm sure Houston rather has had this game circled since they knew they were going there.
Yes. But let's move on to the college basketball like you were talking about, Brett. We don't have a lot of Monday games that we could talk about, at least in terms of lines that are out yet, but you and I did still find a game.
Yeah, they're starting to come out, Higgins. So, I'm sure more lines are out as people are listening to this. But South Florida takes on Boston College, Higgins, and I think Earl Grant can get BC turned around. Look, he had a very good Charleston program prior to coming to BC, Higgins. But BC, this isn't the year for BC. Year one isn't the year for Earl Grant. Give him some time. He'll get his guys in there. He'll get his system going. But South Florida is going to cover the 6.5. Higgins. It might be intriguing to sprinkle just a little bit on the money line there too. If you're a big time bettor, I would not go a full unit on it, but definitely within play, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting game. I don't know if that one's necessarily going to have my attention. Personally, I really like this Notre Dame Illinois game on Monday night. I think that one should be very interesting, especially because neither of these two teams have really started off strong against the sportsbook. Illinois, they're 1-5 ATS. Notre Dame just 1-4 ATS. On the over/under, these teams are about 500, so it's kind of hard to pick there. But Illinois, let's not forget that they did have to go without Coburn for 3 games to start their season because of a suspension. He is back now, and I think he's going to bring that Fighting Illini back to where the expectations are at the start of the season. So I'm really, really leaning on Coburn here in this pick, but -6.5. I can deal with that line. It's not quite too big for me yet. If it got to an 8, maybe an 8.5, I'd say that's where it gets too big for me.
All right, 8.5 gets a little too big for you. Fair enough. I think everything you said is reasonable, but I gotta think, Higgins, like, Coburn coming back is baked into this number here. Like, they know that.
Oh yeah, Coburn's also been back the past couple games as well, so that is absolutely baked into this number. But you can also just look at the quality of opponents that these two teams have played. I mean, Illinois, they've played teams like Kansas State, Cincinnati, Marquette. Granted, they lost to Cincinnati and Marquette, but Notre Dame, I mean, they played Texas A&M most recently, and they lost to them. But other than that, none of these are really impressive opponents to me. So Illinois at least had a little bit more quality of an opponent as well that I think they'll handle it at home.
Fair enough.
Now, Brett, let's stick with some college sports right now. Jump into Moneyline Magic and talk about an SEC game, the Iron Bowl. Always an interesting one. This one doesn't have a Corey Davis field goal return for a touchdown in the closing seconds, though.
No, Higgins, I do. Before we get to overtime, I want to talk about what led up to overtime because Coach Haskins has the opportunity, Higgins, to take 3 knees, take an extra 40 seconds off the clock, do whatever needs to be done there. Instead, he's running the ball, Higgins, and what this allows is the player to be tackled out of bounds, saves 40 seconds because Alabama has 2 timeouts plus the out of bounds play. So that's like a full, set of time that would have run off the clock there. And Alabama drives all the way down the field, Higgins. After a pretty good punt, too. I'm not going to lie. It was a pretty good punt. They drive all the way down the field, score their only touchdown of regulation, Higgins. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, kind of just felt like, this shit is over.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is the fact that Auburn was without their starting quarterback, Bo Nix, in this game, which, to your point, Brett, I think just amplifies the reason why you take a knee in that situation. You have a backup quarterback in a winning situation against Alabama. The game plan there is do not F this up. We are going to drain as much clock as possible and make it as hard for them. And instead, you give Alabama the opportunity to go 97 yards to score a touchdown with less than a minute left in the game and send it to overtime. I mean, just classic Alabama, kind of, right?
Unbelievable. And look, I think people have their own opinions of the overtime rule, if it's good, if it's bad, if it's not, but this was an instant classic here, Higgins, because it's the first overtime game in Iron Bowl history. So, pretty cool moment here. And look, both teams would score a touchdown on their first drive in overtime, Higgins. So
field goal in first overtime.
Oh, it's in the second. Overtime. Okay, so yeah, so we got to that new shootout rule there.
Yes, we did, and the shootout rule's interesting. We saw it with Penn State, Iowa earlier this year, which went to, 9 overtimes, right? Something like that insane?
Yeah, something insane.
This one only went to 4 overtimes, but once you get to triple overtime, the offense just gets one play. They have to try to convert a 2-point conversion. So all the stakes are in on one play for each offense. And so in triple overtime, both teams convert their 2-point conversion. So it's 22-22. And then Auburn gets the ball first in the fourth overtime. They have an incomplete pass. And then Alabama wins the game with their 2-point conversion. Bryce Young throwing a short little touchdown pass to John Mechie III. And Alabama comes out on top in a game where they were 3-touchdown favorites, Brett. This was not supposed to be close like this with Bo Nix out for the game.
No, this wasn't supposed to be like this, but Higgins, I mentioned, the coaching error earlier in regulation. I felt like there was a coaching error in the second overtime. I felt like Auburn, had the opportunity to just put the game away, go for two. And look, they didn't do it. They kicked the field goal. They played conservative, and it wasn't the play.
And actually, Brett, I'm mistaken. You were right the first time. They scored
Okay.
touchdowns in the first overtime, kicked the field goals in the second overtime. You were correct. I was wrong.
Okay, thank you. It's nice to hear you're right. I never hear that at home, Higgins. So at least I hear it from you. It's nice to hear you were right.
Brett, do you follow the win probability charts that they have on like ESPN sometimes? Because if you follow this game, that punt at the end of the fourth quarter that set Alabama up on their own 3-yard line with about 2 minutes left, Auburn had a 99.9% win probability.
Well, what you said right there is exactly why I don't follow these charts, Higgins. Because, all you hear about is how wrong they are.
You hear about how wrong they are when they're wrong.
I guess. Is anyone checking when they're right? No one knows.
Who knows? Let's move on. Let's talk about some other games we got going on Monday night, Brett. How about we talk about some NBA where I saw some interesting news about how Klay Thompson and James Weisman both got designated for assignment to the G League for their rehabs as they're both working back from knee injuries right now. And Brett, I gotta find a way to bet some G League basketball, I think, because those guys gotta be some monster favorites. That's a superstar G League team.
Yeah, I would say Klay probably not gonna play any games in the G League. I could see Weisman getting some run, Higgins, in some game action because he's still a young player. It's not the worst thing in the world for him. Um, but Clay's just going down there to probably get some extra practice. My guess is the Warriors are probably on the road. I don't really know if the Warriors are on the road, but my guess is the Warriors are on the road, and they want him practicing, at home.
Yeah, the Warriors. I'm looking at their schedule right now. They're on a short little. They have a game in Phoenix, and then they come home, and then they travel. Like they're going back and forth right now. They don't really have a long stretch anywhere.
Yeah, so he'll probably be back up after the game in Phoenix.
My guess is the goal might be to get him back by Christmas.
Yeah, no, I think that is the goal. He'll probably be recalled.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump into Monday night's games, though, Brett. Personally, the Denver Nuggets Miami Heat game, that's what I circled. And it's partly because Denver has just been absolutely terrible at the sportsbook to start the season. And they're not that great on the road either. They're 2-6 away. Meanwhile, the Heat are one of the top 5 teams in the NBA against the spread. And at home, they're 6-1 just outright. So I'm taking the Heat -7.5 here because they've been playing really strong against the spread to start. They're 12-6 at ATS, and just when they're at home, they're performing strong.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, Higgins. This Nuggets team, I'm not running to the window to back them. They still got Jokic, but they're battling through some injuries. They have Barton back playing well, but no Murray. No, I forget who they lost last. And Michael Porter Jr. So they're missing some key pieces there. So I guess I would say I would be on your side. But again, I'm a little hesitant just because Miami any given night, a guy could be out here or there for rest or something. So you just have to be careful.
Yet Jokic is dealing with a wrist injury as well, and as of Sunday night, he's listed as questionable for Monday's game in Miami. So interesting. And then you look at Miami's injury report, and I mean, Oladipo, he remains out right now. Markieff Morris is listed as out. Tyler Hero's day to day. Jimmy Butler's day to day. I just have a little bit more faith in Miami's health right now than I do Denver's.
Fair enough. Well, Higgins, sticking with the Sunshine State theme here, I am going to be backing the Orlando Magic at the 76ers. Higgins, the Magic 15.5 on a regular season game. That's just rude. So I'm going to back Coach Mose, my guy James Frashilla. I'm backing my boys there and taking the 15.5.
It's a very interesting play. I mean, 15 and a half, first off, that's just a lot. That's a lot of points. And Brett, I'll I'll back your Magic play in spirit. I'm not going to break our pillars and back it with money, but I gotta be supporting this Orlando Magic team now because after last episode, you and I were talking. I was looking at the sports book and I actually placed an NBA future on Cole Anthony at plus 2,000. I put a half unit on him to be the most improved player in the NBA this year to win that award. So you never know. I liked those odds. I mean, John Morant, though, he's the leader, at least at the Oregon Sportsbook for that one.
Yeah, well, Jaw's hurt now, so everyone moves up a little bit. Higgins, it's a crazy world.
Crazy world indeed. Should be an interesting little season for the most improved player. There's a few guys on that list right now that really have a shot at it, I think.
All right, definitely. But Higgins, I got one more bet. So I'm going to give it out to the people really quick before we hop into hockey. And the Thunder take on the Rockets. No one cares, but the Rockets really, really bad. John Wall may be coming back. They're focused on a million different things in Houston. They're trying to rebuild. They're trying to get their $40 million player to stay away. Meanwhile, Oklahoma City just continues to keep chugging along. Not a great team by any stretch of the imagination, but stay competitive. Higgins, this is just a situation where I think the away team is getting points, fine. They're both bad teams, fine. But I just strongly believe in the Thunder are better than the Rockets right now. So I'm going to take the 2.5 points. Hope it's a, one possession game or less here, Higgins. I really hope it's a 2-point game or less. Like someone wins on like a layup or a dunk at the last second.
And you got to back your guy Josh Giddey, right?
Absolutely backing Josh Giddey. Huge for the Rookie of the Year game going up against Jalen Green. I don't know, Higgins. Mobley, been in and out of the lineup. He's a little banged up right now. But if it kind of just feels like Scotty Barnes might be running away with this thing. But we could see what happens in December and January. Anything can happen. So Giddey's definitely, within striking distance. It wouldn't be the craziest wager if you bet on it later than me.
Hey, Giddey's odds have improved. You got him at plus 2,500. He's at plus 1,600 right now. In Oregon, there's actually a three-way favorite for Rookie of the Year with Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes, and Cade Cunningham all at plus 250.
Okay. I don't. If I was in Oregon, I would not back Cade Cunningham at that co-favorite price.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really like that price at plus 250. I agree with what you said about Scotty Barnes. He has definitely shown up to start this year.
Yeah, 100% Higgins. He's played really well for Toronto.
Let's talk about some hockey, though, as well, Brett, because on Monday night we have 4 games, and I found 2 games that I'm going to be on. I can't really back either team in any of these, though, but I am looking at the over-under. So the first one is the Kraken at the Buffalo Sabres, and these two teams, are not very strong defensively, if I'm going to put that nicely, I guess. But the over/under sitting at 5.5. I really like this over because you look at how these teams have played recently. I mean, the Kraken, they got a 4-1 win over the Panthers recently. The Sabres, they've lost 4 of their past 5, but they've been giving up at least 3 goals in each of those and 4 goals in 3 of those 4 losses. So I really expect there to be some sloppy play, maybe some sloppy goals that get scored in 5.5. That's not high enough for me to stay away. If it was at 6 flat, I might stay away, but 5.5, I'll take it.
All right, yeah, I know we like those 5.5 overs, Higgins, in hockey. So, look, these are two teams towards the bottom. Maybe the offenses break loose here.
Not to mention the Kraken are the best team in the NHL this year at hitting overs so far. I don't know how much they've actually done for that or if it's been the other team scoring, but they're 10-3 at hitting their overs this season.
All right, Sabres scoring a lot in this one, I guess.
The other game that I like is the Penguins at the Flames. Now, this over/under set at 5.5, and I really like the odds at plus 100 because if you look at how these two teams have played recently, they're both getting pretty strong right now. I mean, the Flames, they've played fantastic to start the season. Penguins started off a little slow, but they're getting it back again, and each of these teams have won 4 of their past 5. Now, I think it's going to be a competitive game. Could this be a 2-1 game? Absolutely. I mean, if you look at how these teams have played, they've been getting 3-1 wins, 2-0 wins, something like that. But both of these offenses, I think, are just too good. And so I think it's going to be more like a 3-3 game that gets sent to overtime, maybe a 4-2 game with an empty net winner. So I'm going to take the over 5.5 here.
Yeah, I know the Penguins have been, were electric to start the year, and they've kind of been a little disappointing as of late, Higgins. I have not seen anything or anyone talking about the Flames at all this year, so I have no read on the Calgary Flames whatsoever. I mean, I think this might be the first time we're talking about them on this show, Higgins, and I mean, we're pretty much in December, but we're still in November. I guess it's not too late.
I was on the Flames. Not yet this season. Not yet this season.
Not
I was
yet.
taking a
Not
look. I
yet.
was taking a quick look.
No, you were not on the Flames.
Not yet. No. All my Flames bets from 2021 were from. Actually, no. Back in October, I bet on Ducks Flames game, and I bet on the Ducks, and they won. So there's been one time that I've talked about the Flames, but overall, yeah, you're right. They haven't gotten a lot of attention, partly because they are a Canadian West Coast team. I think.
I think it's because we spent all our time talking about the Ducks in that episode.
Probably. Before we get out of here, Brett, Levy Lock pick of the pod. We both won our Levy Lock pick of the pod's last episode. Do you remember who had honors?
It was you, Higgins. You always have the honors. You never lose these.
All right. Well, I am going to be going with the Monday Night Football game, and I'm backing Russell Wilson in this one. I think the Seahawks have underperformed this year. Part of that's been because of Russell Wilson's injury that took him out for a few games. But Washington, I don't really have a lot of faith in that offense, and I think Russell Wilson's going to be able to run over and pass over the Washington defense pretty well. So I think Seattle wins this one. Is it close like the line says, though? Probably.
All right. Well, I could save you a few shekels over here, Higgins, on that game. But anyway, I'm taking my Levy Lock, going to the NBA. The Orlando Magic getting 15.5 points on a Monday night in November. That just seems rude and disrespectful. Look, I think the Sixers are a good team. I wouldn't bet Orlando on the money line. But, I mean, that's a lot of baskets, Higgins. That's an 8-possession game. I guess it's a guaranteed 7-possession game. So I don't really foresee that.
Yeah, that is a very, very large line for a Monday night game that might not get a lot of attention.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a big line.
I agree with
I
you.
just
I'm
have
on
to
your
be
side
on
for
the
this one.
15 and a half. I have to. I'll probably hop in again if it hops up to 16. I'll just keep on hopping in.
With a line that big, maybe you're hoping that 76ers just have a big enough lead through the first 3 quarters they bench everyone, and maybe Orlando comes back and loses by 12.
Yeah, I don't care. Lose
don't
by
care how, just
15.
win.
Yeah, lose by 15.
All right. Well, we may have some other social media picks between now and next episode, so follow us at NBB Pod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel. This has been episode 178 of the Next Best Bet. Hope you got some Thanksgiving leftovers for lunch this week. For Brett, I'm Jake. We'll talk to you guys on Thursday.